What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Keep Chasing podcast. On this episode, I sit down with one of the strongest and most soulful humans in the CrossFit world, Mr. Sam Dancer. You probably know him for his record-breaking lifts and his fearless presence on the competition floor, but there's so much more behind the barbell. Sam's story is one of chasing purpose, giving back to the Dancer Love Foundation, and finding strength that goes beyond muscle. From elite competition to life's toughest challenges, Sam has lived it all, and today he's sharing what keeps him chasing. So let's get into it. Thank you so much, Sam Dancer. So you were just telling me that you were in this balance of like, what was it? Extreme joy and a little bit of fear.
Yeah, fear, I'd say fear is applicable to it, but in terms of like discernment, I know where fear comes from. So like, I wouldn't go I'd be lying if I said I have not been afraid.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the two types of feelings that I'm holding on to that are so opposing to one another. One is joy, most certainly. I love my life. I love my lifestyle, my wife, my child, my broader family, the gym, just a lot of wonderful things going for us. And then the development of this property that we've recently acquired in Dancer Love Foundation and Q-Town Fitness and Strong Coffee and what else is going into this building. It's so big of a project comparatively to what I'm used to, and the stakes are higher.
Yeah.
So in fitness, you lose a competition, you lose an event, no big deal. In this, if I lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that is that will make you a bit of something. But like I mentioned, I'm pretty quick to if I do feel a bout of actual fear, I'm capable of discerning and knowing where that's coming from. So I'm able to deflect it rather quickly. But it's just like you and I were talking on Instagram a few days ago, and you were like, "You sleep?" You're like, "I never sleep before competition." And it's kind of like that feeling. It's that like nervous, excited energy that just kind of eats at you, man, and it keeps you up a little bit. So it's more so that, and I'm holding both of those like simultaneously, nonstop, 24/7, and it's I'm getting better and better at walking through that with grace and not staying in, because at the beginning it would be like that freak out, and Jen and I would be freaking out full on, like almost two tears, literally to tears, and then we'd settle in, and then we'd be joyful again. But now we just we hold both of them pretty much simultaneously. We're getting really good at it.
You said something really interesting that I want to bring back up. And you said, I don't know if I would call it fear because of I know the discernment of fear and I know where it comes from. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, I guess it would be a little dependent on maybe what your philosophy or your theology is. But
well, I want to know it from Sam's point of view.
Yeah, from my point of view, that would be the enemy, and you could call it an evil spirit. You could give it a more of an overarching definition of Satan, the devil, his legion. It seems that there's a lot more. It's very similar, in my opinion, to a government and its armies and whatnot. So you'll have generals and commanders and presidents, and but sure, maybe there's this top dog that's calling shots and has a mission that is being sent out to the armies. But then there's all sorts of different entities that are carrying that stuff out from a very, I didn't have the definition of a lot of these things when I was young, but from a very young age, I've had, and I'm not so sure, Brandon, if it's a spiritual gift or if it's something that we're all equipped with, and maybe I'm just a little bit more sensitive to it. I have no idea. but from a very young age, I've had encounters, if you will, with apparitions, with all sorts of stuff, dude. I mean, I could go on and on, and I probably have a good 15 like blow your mind stories of, call them ghosts, call them demons, call them evil spirits, call them apparitions, call them whatever. But I don't know. The veil seems to be a little
Yeah.
thin sometimes for me. So
Okay. I want to
I've had to,
separate these two things because I want to talk
yeah.
about this. But I want to make a note on the fear part of it because I don't hear too many people talk about fear in the way that you just talked about it. In the sense of like you said, I know where the source comes from, and and it's something that I didn't realize until a few months ago. And now I tell people who are like, I'm scared, I'm anxious, and I say, okay, well, fear and anxiety are not a product of grace.
You have to know your identity first and foremost, and what
Yeah,
your identity is in. And Lord help you if your identity is something that is curated on your own. Um, whew,
yeah,
um, tough stuff there. Or if your identity is imposed onto you by the enemy, for that matter, and it becomes of a significant importance to know what your identity is in the image in which who created that.
yeah,
And when you understand those things, it becomes quite easy to, again, to discern whether or not, whether these are um, your thoughts, someone else's thoughts, or um, does that kind of make sense?
absolutely.
Um,
100%. Because you know, I tell people, and I struggle with it. I've been in, I've dealt with anxiety for a lot of my life ever since I was a kid. Dealt with fear since I was a kid. And I didn't recognize until recently that anxiety and fear are not a product of grace. They don't come from God. They come from opposition, the devil, evil, demons, whatever you want to call them. There's a good and an evil in this world, and whether you believe in God or not, I think we can all agree that there's good and bad. Um, and I think there's a greater good and a greater evil that are opposing constantly. But that product of fear and anxiety don't come from the light and the good in this world. And where they stem from is a lack of trust. And so that's where that's where I've had to push like my thoughts is okay, if I'm scared of the future, something that I can't really control, why am I so terrified of it? Well, I have a lack of trust in my creator, in God, in the path that he's leading me down. And so if I can recognize that and walk through that and identify the source and why, then I can kind of okay, say a
yeah,
prayer
I
and
would
say,
also like to maybe add to that our a component of our own language to that. Um, Sometimes we may identify it as anxiety, or nervousness,
mm-hmm.
but it actually might be an excitement.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
mentioned not being able to sleep. Um, it might not have been as much of a nervousness or an anxiousness about anything. It
yeah,
could have just purely been a an excitement, like
yeah,
and it's programmed into you through your experiences and your training and your competition. It's
mm-hmm.
almost like your body and your brain knows what it's about it to get itself into, and
100%.
it's kind of like when you show a dog a ball,
Yeah, yeah,
and they just like, oh, they almost like can't even control themselves anymore. They just start to, be beside themselves in terms of how they would normally act, and you just see all that energy kind of building up, and
yeah,
it's an excitement. So I think it's important to have those discerning tools, but also to have the appropriate language
yes.
to be able to identify what's really happening.
Yeah, there's absolutely a difference between I'm nervous about this competition and how it's going to shake out. I really care about it. I know the pain I'm about to endure. I know that these other guys are absolute animals and I'm going to be racing against them. But that's preparing you. Okay, we're about to pump adrenaline. We're going to be on high alert. We're going to be detail oriented. We're going to be like ready for pain. And that's where like those are good nerves. Those are good nerves preparing you for like the challenge ahead. Um, in competition for me, there was those nerves, and then there was anxiety and fear about what's going to go wrong. well, just
Yeah.
zoomed in on you, but anxiety about what would go wrong, and those were the things that would, and of course, cortisol and adrenaline are like just
Yeah.
flooding my system. But even outside of competition, like that nervousness is okay with me. I don't mind that nervousness in competition, but like in life, with business, with work, with family, when anxiety starts flooding you in, and it's not a positive nervousness, excitement, like, oh,
Yeah.
I got a new contract, I just won the bid on the building, we're about to start construction, like all of those things, you're nervous about how it's going to go, how it's going to turn out, did you make the right decisions? That can be exciting. It's, man, if I don't get this, then I'm a failure. If I don't get this, then I'm doomed. What if I lose this client? Like, those are bad thoughts that flood you, and they have a negative connotation and a negative like outcome. Those are bad.
Yep.
Those you have to find the source of and squash them out, because it's not those are not products of good. And so to have those kinds of thoughts flooding your mind 24/7, and I dealt with that for 28 years,
Mm.
maybe 29 years, man. I mean, today's my birthday, so I turned 31 today. And I just started recognizing these things and, like, working with the therapist and working through them. And I tell you what, dude, over the past, I I don't mind at all telling people that I go see a therapist. Um, I'm so much lighter in life than I've ever been. And it's a lot of it's due to working through and understanding.
Yeah, man. It's good for. Well, first of all, Brandon, happy birthday, big fella.
Thank you.
I hope you feel outrageously loved today,
Absolutely, I do.
and I hope you have a wonderful day today, full of laughs and enjoy with your family and reminiscing even on the past year and all your success and all the good that you're doing. Maybe you don't. I see a lot of your reposts on your Imam Co page and your own personal page. I hope you get enough uh, enough affirmation to know that you're doing a lot of incredible things and you're having a tremendous positive impact on people's lives, whether you know it or not.
Thank you so
And
much,
it's
man.
even myself. You're a wonderful human, and the art and intellect that you have, the artistic ability and the intellect that you have, and your ability to translate that into um, workouts
Yeah.
and exercises is something that I really admire, and I know it can seem kind of silly sometimes, like it's just exercise and just fitness and whatnot, but I think it is a little bit more than that,
I
and
appreciate
I
it.
know for you it's provided a lot of amazing opportunities in your life, and so even though it might seem kind of silly sometimes and like, what are we talking about here? Freaking exercising for time, and but positive impact, my friend. You're doing a great job.
Look, man, I think, the four walls of the gym are small. And at times there's a much bigger picture, and from competing. I mean, that competition side of our lives felt so big to us, but in the grand scheme of things, it was pretty small.
You know,
Um, but it did connect us with incredible humans, but also just I truly believe, like, the mindset that you curate inside of the gym to recognize how strong you are physically doesn't mean you're just physically strong. There's something going on spiritually and mentally inside of those four walls that exudes and, like, spreads and has a ripple effect into every area of your life and every relationship and every job in with your faith with Christ. It bleeds out. If you can work hard in the gym, you can work hard in your relationship and with your marriage, with your children, with your parents, with your family, with your friends, with your boss, with with God. Like,
yeah, it's all connected, no
absolutely,
doubt.
100%. And so, yeah, while I do is just like it's a small piece. The reason I wanted to start having conversations like this with people like you is because I've made these connections through the fitness space, but I think the message is so much greater, and it gives me an opportunity to dive into people like you to inspire other people. And so, I'm so blessed that I get to have these conversations, every week, and incredibly appreciative that you took the time today to come on to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And so we've talked about the fear. Now I want to talk about the thin veil between you and the spiritual side of our existence. So you said from a long, like, Was it as long as you could remember?
Oh, man. No, I don't have any like early memories. Like when I was 3, 4, 5 ish. My mom has mentioned that I would say some interesting things from time to time about maybe something that was like in the room or and an idea that I had about maybe like the future or something like that. But it really started to pick up, or like my actual memory of it um, started to happen probably around the age of 10, when I started to actually like see things and experience things, have weird paranormal things like things moving across the room or picture frames shaking on the wall. There was this, those old bells that had the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
The house that I grew up in was built in the late 1800s, and there was one of those in the house, and it was cut, disconnected, it was decommissioned, and it one time I was walking right next to it, and it just started going crazy, and that was one of the first times I had like really experienced a lot of some of the other experiences were just odd or weird. This one actually like brought fear into
Yeah.
me. Um, Another wild one where I saw my mom in my house, and I was like, "Hey, mom," and she just kept walking through the house. And mom, what's she doing? She keeps walking away from me, going from room to room to room. Mom, she's ignoring me. And then she grabs a door um, and hides behind it. Like, what's she doing? It's so weird. And I go pull the door away, and there's no one there. That was another one that really like make make the hair stand up
Yeah,
on your neck.
I got goosebumps over here.
And even had like some really hideous looking um, creatures that um, would make attempts to like really startle me at a young age. And these are not these aren't imaginative figures or like make believe characters or um, anything like that. These were, I don't know that I could say that they were physical, but they were they were very very real, and I've
Yeah.
continued to experience them into my adult life. Um, some wild ones. I like don't even know where to begin in terms of like what are some good ones to share. My favorite ones to tell are like my first encounter with the Holy Spirit. Um, I had a really interesting one not too long ago, where, and I know you're Catholic, where actually I end up calling one of my Catholic friends to figure out what any of this stuff means. But my father passed away when I was 18 or 19, something like that, and I'm not so sure where his soul is. Just put it simply. Real recently, I got this just this clear as day image of my father, and then an audible voice that was just like, "Pray for your father," and it was over. Man, what does that mean? Went and the only thing I could think of was like, oh man, maybe my father did potentially die in a state of grace, and maybe he happens to be in a somewhat of a holding tank where he's going through some sort of post-mortem purification and sanctification up until the point of the return of Christ. And I don't I don't have the language to be able to um, articulate all this stuff enough. Especially relative to what you Catholics believe, and still even as a Christian, I would consider myself relatively novice in my walk with the Lord. Um, but because of some encounters that I've had with the Holy Spirit a while ago, I think I may have been given the like a spiritual gift of faith, and was baptized by the Holy Spirit in a radical encounter that happened when I was out on a run, a long run, and I'd been fasting for a few days, and I wasn't doing it for like any spiritual purposes. I was trying to kind of clean my guts up a little bit, and you're just like playing football and that the lifestyle I lived in college. I just did a lot of terrible things to my body. Um, and I was just kind of in a healing process and trying to do everything I could to restore myself back to some good function. And I had read this book called How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy by Paul Chek, and was kind of in the early stages of implementing as much of these ideas into my lifestyle and trying to, again, clean my guts up and get clean from, dude, I was on so many medications just so my knees wouldn't ache and my body would, and then I ended up having to take drugs to get up because you'd be so dopey from the Vicodin, and then I'd have to take another drug just to get down from the freaking Adderall, and then so I'd just be on so many pharmaceuticals, and I was attempting to clean myself up from that stuff, and so I was fasting and on this run, and out of nowhere it feels like I got pushed from behind and I fell onto all fours, and it felt like I was in a full body cramp. Like I couldn't move, and my jaw was kind of even cramped open, and this is some wild stuff. And I had a rainbow light rod that was like, that's the best way I had to describe it, was like penetrating my mouth and it attached to like my groin, and I could see it even through my body, and my whole body was like translucent. I could see my bones and my muscles and my veins, and I was in this infinite white bubble, and I started receiving these like images and these it wasn't images, it was like watching a movie of I saw myself getting baptized. I saw myself, and I think everyone maybe knows the name of Jesus, but I didn't have any sort of personal, I'd never really like been to church on my own, maybe go to service for like Christmas or something like that, Easter or something like that, with school or whatever. But there was nothing really there. And I even had a college roommate who invited me to church every Sunday for 5 years, and I politely said no every single time. And I had this vision of my roommate who asked me to go to church with him, David. Saw him baptizing me, saw myself getting married to a woman I didn't know, and I saw this building where this like golden like hue, this like glowing golden kind of path that showed me this building, and there's an audible, as clear as we're talking, this audible voice that's essentially narrating everything that I'm seeing, and I'm even talking back and forth with it. And especially when when I saw myself getting married to this woman I didn't know, I was like, oh man, that's not gonna work. Because I was dating this girl that I really loved. I was planning on getting married to her, and I was just thinking, I'm like, there's no way I could break up with her. She's such a sweet lady, and I really like her, and was more or less just saying like, well, buddy, this is what it is. And I didn't even want, even though I was a little hesitant and kind of contested it, there was still a part of me that didn't want to find out what would happen if I wasn't obedient to these prophecies or these visions or whatever we call them. And then the building, I thought it was a college, and I was like, oh man, I'm supposed to go back to school and get my master's in art or something. The voice was like, no. It was like literally like that. It was like, and it happened to be a church, and saw the path to this building, and I walked into it, and there happened to be a church service that was going on, and I was so wigged out by anything like religious or anything faith related, and so I sat in the very, very back of this place, and I was so judgy back there the whole time. I was like, this is so stupid, dude. Like, anyone that I know who claims to know anything about this stuff or claim Jesus is Lord is displayed nothing but the opposite of what little I thought I did know about Jesus. Um, and I went and I sit back there even with a bad attitude. And I went back there the next week and I had another one of these encounters. And it was like getting an Amazon package delivery notification on your phone. And it was like package that's on its way and pertaining to my future wife, who I didn't know, but I'd seen her, and in this vision. And when I got that message, I wasn't like looking around every corner. I'm like, oh, where's she? She's gonna be popping up here any moment. And get a call later that day. An acquaintance of mine knew that I was training this NFL football guy at the time, and a friend of his was a professional soccer player. And he's like, hey, a girlfriend of mine's going to be in town for a few weeks. She's a pro soccer player. Would you mind if she maybe joined, you and your group to train? And he's like, yeah, man, sure, no doubt. Give me her number. And called her up. Again, didn't even think anything of it. I was honestly more geeked out that like we were just going to have some baddie who wanted to like train with us. It'd be like if Rich Froning called you and was like, hey, Brandon, could I come train with you for the week? And he'd be like, bro, let's go. So I was like, heck yeah, man, another savage to train with, like, let's get it. And arranged with her to like meet up with me at this gym with my other buddy, and looking around for what I think is gonna looks like a stereotypical soccer player. And I won't even honestly say in my mind what I had kind of envisioned, which honestly I wasn't too far off. But I'm looking around and boom, they're the same golden hue that was on this path that showed me the way to this church. There was this chick that was encased in this golden tube. And even without that golden tube around her, I would have been able to identify this lady as the same person I saw in that vision. The exact angle that I had on her was the same angle that I saw her in this vision. And I almost had like a panic attack. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a chick. Like, that's who I'm supposed to marry. Freaking out. I keep it together. I train this girl for a week, totally professional, like no flirting, no nothing. And on the last day, she's supposed to be going back to Sweden to finish up her second half of her soccer season. And I just bought a ticket to go to Denver, Colorado to surprise my roommate and ask him if he would baptize me. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to tell her. Like, what do I have to lose? And told her the whole story. She wasn't like too wigged out, but she was a little taken back. I mean, who wouldn't think that something like that is a little bonker? Even I, still to this day, even when I tell that story, and I've told it 1,000 times, it's still like, this is so stupid.
Yeah,
so ridiculous.
It's
and
insane.
Yeah, it is
wild.
insane. And told her the whole thing. She actually received it pretty well for what I was expecting. I thought she was gonna like laugh in my face. And she was like, okay, cool, like we'll stay in touch. And we did. She went to Sweden, we stayed in touch, and there was a big time difference, so we really weren't able to stay in touch that much. And I was opening a gym at the time, so I was busy from 5 a.m. till 7 p.m. But yeah, we'd stay in touch from time to time, and eventually she finished up her second half of soccer season. She came back to visit her parents, and we met up. A few weeks later, we got engaged. About 2 weeks after that, we got married. The day after that, we moved to Ohio, and we both started our CrossFit careers together.
What is the name of this woman? We have to know.
Yeah, Jennifer Nobis Dancer.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Sweet Jenny.
That's incredible.
Wild. And then I have another crazy one that involves our daughter, where I've had a fair amount of these. They're straight up opened eye visions. They're not always pleasant. Sometimes they're absolute. I've had. You ever had like sleep paralysis? You ever had that before?
I'll tell you my side of the veil after I hear your story.
So like I said, I've seen some like horrifying looking like monstrous things that have kind of like attempted to like scare me. And I've had a handful of really pleasant encounters too with mostly the Holy Spirit. And I think like that one that I told you about, where it was like pray for your father. I think that I didn't see anything but just the image of my father there. But all these, they're opened eye visions that I get. It's not like a dream. It's not a daydream. It's like a full on like insert into what you're already seeing. So it'd be like exactly how this room looks right now, and then out of nowhere this image imposes itself into the room and I can see it clear as day. But have this vision where I met my daughter. She wasn't in a body. She was just this sparkling, shining ball of light ribbons. But she was conscious and aware that I was there. And we were freaking out. We were like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing ever. I can't believe I'm seeing you right now. And she was introduced to me by these two beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people. And they were enormous people. They were very tan, very jacked, very tall, dressed in like this very ornate, like ancient warrior outfits covered in jewels and precious metals. And this dude had like a giant sword, and this chick had a huge like staff. Chick had like a badass crown on. And but they're like, hey, we'd like to introduce you to your they didn't say like boy or girl, like we want to introduce you to your daughter. And they were like, we want to introduce you to your child star. And okay, go meet child star, see child star, and she's, like I said, that ball of light. And we're freaking out. We're like kind of hugging each other in a way, even though we she wasn't in a body. And she just kept saying, like, we can't forget this. We can't forget this. Like, do not forget this. And we're just like so happy and elated that we got to see each other. And let me also say, I don't always put much value into any of these visions. Sometimes it's hard for me to really tell if it's of the spirit or of the enemy. It can be quite difficult sometimes. You know, the old, like the scripture talking about even how, the enemy will dress up, kind of in a way that
disguised.
Yeah, you might not even really be able to tell. He might seem like a really sweet dude.
Yeah.
So again, I try not to really put too much weight into any of these things. They're cool, and they're wild experiences. But again, even when it was like your package is on the way, I was like, cool, okay, whatever. But the one time I did, like the first time I met the Holy Spirit, like I knew that time, and this has been one way I've been able to discern it is if it glorifies Jesus. And if it glorifies Jesus, I know for a fact it's of the Spirit. And it very much so did in the form of baptism, marriage, and the church. But they're not always that clear. So again, that's why I don't really, hang them up too much, and like worship them or like it's the most amazing thing that's ever happened. And so yeah, have that happen. Don't think too much of it. A year to the exact day that I had that vision, we find out we're pregnant. The day before that, Jenny and I decided that we were not going to have our own biological children. We had a serious sit-down conversation about if she was getting a little older, and we were, training heavily. And we're like, hey, man, if we want to have our own children, we're probably going to have to dial back the training, and we're going to need to like be serious about tracking when you're ovulating and like and be hyper aware of this stuff because the clock's ticking. Like she's no spring chicken anymore. And the day before that, we decided we were okay with not having our own biological children, and thus not going through any extreme measures to conceive. And we thought we would adopt or something like that. We had fostered a few times in the past in one form or another, and we really enjoyed that. And so that was kind of what we thought we were meant for. And next day we found out we're pregnant. And then again, a year from that day was when I was introduced to my daughter, my disembodied little star child. And I was also given her birthday, which was spot on. And didn't even think anything of that really until we went to the doctor and found out, roughly when this child was going to be born. And the second, even, Jenny's very in tune with anything like this that happens to me. I talk to Jenny about it nonstop. And the second that we were given this like projected birth date, we both would just like look at each other like, oh my gosh, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. And this freaking baby shoots out spot on. So yeah, those are some wild stories for you, buddy.
Do you think that you have this? I'm gonna call it a gift. This gift because I've gotten to speak with you a few times, in person, in competition, through Instagram, whatever it might be. But I've also gotten to see a lot of you in documentaries, and I don't think it's any secret that like your heart is incredibly open to love. Like you are so giving and receiving of emotion, and emotion to me is spiritual. Like it's not very tangible. But do you think that like that's why you have this gift of seeing something past like the physical side of this world?
Gosh, Brandon, I've thought and thought and thought about it, and I have a tough time. Like I can sit here and tell you with confidence that I was given the gift of faith. Like before I even read a single word of scripture, I I knew for a fact it was real, and maybe not intimately knew who he was, but at the same time knew enough to die for it, yeah. Like without question. Before I ever read a single sentence about him, I can speak confidently that I was given that. I was given the gift of faith. With this stuff, I haven't been able to quite put my finger on it. I don't know. I really don't know. I think there's definitely things that have happened in my life that have made me a little bit more compassionate and empathetic and whatnot towards people who are hurting or people who are, just fill in the blank. Anyone who's not privileged or is maybe just having a tough time. I was horrifically bullied in high school, dude. I've been pissed on. I've been spit on. I've had my ass beat by multiple people at once. I've been called every name that you could ever imagine at a young age, and dude, and that broke me, like full on destroyed me, dude. And like just knowing how much that hurt me, it definitely, again, it's made me more compassionate towards other people, and it's made me very forgiving too of nasty people. Because I held on to that anger for a while, and it's honestly what fueled so much of who I am today. Like this is bonkers, dude. This still blows my mind. I was 16 years old when I bench pressed 500 pounds. Like, think about that, dude. That's almost inconceivable. You can't even wrap your head around. That was purely fueled by anger. Like that was me just doing everything I could to not kill someone. And I thought to myself, and I had a really good father, and he was really good about making both my brother and I we were just genetically gifted, and my dad was really on top of it in regards to making sure that, one, we would never do anything that would jeopardize our future. And two, just helping us come to know and understand that like how easily we could hurt somebody if we retaliated. So like for me, I've never been in a fight, not once in my life. I've never been in an unsanctioned fight. And so I would have to channel all that, because I so desperately wanted to make like my parents proud and honor their like requests, that I channeled all of that energy into training. I was like, man, if I can't kill them, I'm gonna beat them down so bad, and I'm gonna get so strong, and I'm gonna get so fast, and I'm already so angry that I'm just going to punish these people like on the football field. A lot of them happen to be on my football team. Not all of them, but a good amount of them. So funny, dude. I would even like be on, like, say I was a fullback and maybe I was blocking for the tailback who was maybe did something mean to me. I would peel back around and tackle my own offensive player and just like, dude, pile drive them into the ground. Um, like any chance I got, dude, I would do as much as I could to legally, and that's what my dad told me too. He's like, dude, if you do anything to any one of these dudes outside of the football field, he's like, you'll go to jail. You might go to jail for the rest of your life. But he's like, on that football field, boy, he's like, there's no rules. Like there's no rules. Like you could literally go try to hurt someone as bad as you want, as harmful as you want to be, and the worst that's going to happen is a yellow flag. And I was just like, game on, dude. And I just like, yeah, channeled all that energy into training. And it's kind of funny because, it happened at such a early age. And most of these guys that were so mean to me, they were like juniors and seniors. So by the time I got really strong and fast and had channeled all that, like these dudes were gone. So like I only got like a little tiny moment of time where I was able to like really retaliate. And then by time I had really ever encountered any of them, I'd forgiven them. So it was over for me. But man, it fueled a lot of who I am today, both athletically and physically, and also just in regards to what you speak of, just that with that heart and that for people. I just like I feel like I even kind of single-handedly changed the culture of like I don't know what it's like today, but at our high school, it was a big kind of, hazing and all that stuff. And I shut that stuff down. Like I wasn't going to let any upperclassmen, bully anyone or pick on anyone, and nobody was going to say anything to me either. I was just so fierce and ferocious on the football field, but I was also still a sweet man. I did have a lot of anger and stuff that I was dealing with, but I was also a very sweet and compassionate man. The man that today, that not much different than that. But yeah, just had some anger in my heart, and I because of how I was raised, I was really strategic about where I unleashed that. So maybe some of it came from that. Some for sure came from that, but in terms of like, this veil and the thinning of that and having some of these encounters, I don't know, Brandon. I don't know if it's a gift. I don't know if it's something I've nurtured. I don't know if it's because of something X, Y, and I don't know. And I also don't even know maybe if there's maybe even a part of me that's not willing to accept that gift. And it's hard. I think everyone's experienced this to agree. Sometimes it's hard to receive a gift. I'm sure you've had something like that in your life before where you're like, no, please don't. Like, you do not have to give me this, pay for this. No, please don't. Like, and you reject a gift. I'm not so sure. I've thought about it and wrestled with it, and the best that I've been able to come up with was something I got from someone else, and they said, Sam, I have 5 kids. I parent every single one of my children completely different. With number 5, I can get in him and I can be hard on him, thrive. But with kid 2, if I do that to him, he'll break down, he'll cry, he'll be a mess. He'll go to his room and won't come out. He's like, I can't do that to number 2. And then like with number 1, I have to be really gentle and talk sweet and all this. And he's like, why wouldn't it be any different with our Father and how he parents us and nurtures us and guides us? So that's something I can accept and get down with. Yeah, that's the best I've been able to come up with, buddy, is maybe that was a necessary part of our Father parenting me and knowing that it may very well be the only way that I ever came to know. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
With those kids in the high school, and how you deal with both the broken, um, how you deal with broken people, because I feel like your heart goes out to the broken immensely. Those kids who bullied you in high school, now you probably realize that they were broken and they didn't know how to reconcile their shattered heart, whatever it might be. And so they found some sense of control, some sense of power, some sense of whatever it might be by putting this kid down, and breaking him so that they were broken with them. Like you can recognize that now, but you couldn't probably recognize that at the age of 15, 14, however old you were.
No.
When did you start to realize that and come to a place to forgive them and not become like them?
Well, I mean, when those things happened, I definitely knew I didn't want to be like them. So very early on, even as like a sophomore and a junior and a senior, like I said, I feel that maybe sounds arrogant that I feel like I single-handedly changed the culture of like our athletic program within regards to football. So it started even pretty shortly after that. In terms of how it affected and changed my heart for the better. And then again, I did still carry some of that anger with me. And I think it started to happen once I went to college because it resurfaced. I was like, oh no, it's going to happen again, dude. I'm going to be a freshman and these seniors are going to they're going to hate me and they're going to pick on me. And like, yeah. And it wasn't like that. Like everyone was awesome. And so like that kind of was a little bit of relief that kind of helped nudge me towards being more forgiving and understanding. But I don't know which were steps in the right direction, at least to the point where I wasn't like angry nonstop. Like I wouldn't say angry nonstop, but there was just like a part of my heart that wasn't again fully healed quite yet, and I don't know if that was fully relinquished up until where I met the Holy Spirit, and then like that's where I was able to like fully let go. But here's the kicker, and this lingered up until even maybe 7 years ago. Kind of had an aha moment with my wife. She's an aggressive lady. She's a tough chick. She can be, yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
She's a soccer player.
And yeah, she's a tough lady, man. And gosh, the memory, like that's what I couldn't shake, you know. And even still to this day, you know, I still can't get rid of those. And I've even you know, from time to time I've prayed that those memories could be like just taken away from me, because I would notice that they would paralyze me, and they would take me back right to those moments. And if anything got escalated at all, like even a little bit, if voices were getting raised, if any sort of like slur that was being used that I would associate with what was being projected towards me, it would just, those memories would resurface, and I would be that little broken, scared 13-year-old, 14-year-old again. And it would, and then that all those, the anger and all that stuff would kind of come flooding back in. But yeah, Jenny and I were able to kind of like figure it out one day, and I've gotten really good at now I can see it coming, and I'm able to like catch it and maneuver in a way that's significantly more graceful than getting into this like kind of subconscious behavior that where it's like I'm not even like the Sam isn't even home anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a pretty long journey, but there was a few segments that was like, some early on segments that happened even right away in high school, where I was like, man, I don't want anyone to feel this way. No one should feel this way. I would always think to myself, I'm like, gosh, I'm so glad that I have something to channel this into. I had art. I love to write. I have football. I had loving parents, a wonderful brother and family. I had all these wonderful things. And I was like, gosh, if you took any one of those things from me, like, I was like, I get it. I understand why people follow through with suicidal ideations. Because I had so many wonderful things in my life, but still the thought would haunt me nonstop of like, gosh, it would just be so much better if this was just over and we just ended this and I didn't have to deal with it anymore. But the only thing that would keep me coming back were these things that I loved and loved me back, like sports, like art, like writing, like my family. And so that made me really, really super compassionate towards other people because I'm like, man, there's not everyone has all these things. Not everyone has a loving family. Not everyone has a physical body that would allow them to excel in sport. Not everyone's brain maybe works in a way that where they just when they put the pen to paper, it just like it comes out, or has an artistic mind that allows them to see something in their brain and then like make it happen with paint or with clay or whatever. But all those things kept me in the game, and so I'm like, I need to do everything I can to make sure that I'm giving someone the reason to stay in the game. Yeah.
You seem to be both incredibly self-aware of yourself, but also aware of other people's selves. And by that I mean I feel like you can look at somebody and how they act or how they lash out or how they love and be like, okay, like there's probably a reason for this. And on either side of it, I'm going to be compassionate and loving through it. Because at one point I felt the pain of being on the other
That's
side
it.
of this. And
I've lived it.
Yeah.
It's really I can do it even in the gym too. Like I know how it feels to bonk a workout because you didn't have enough carbohydrates. I know. I understand what even the body looks like if you didn't drink enough water or have enough electrolytes. And very similarly, I know I can just like see it in someone's posture when they're broken and they're hurting, no matter how much of a front, they put on. Cause I would too, I would front up too. And I think you have to kind of do that to survive. It's kind of like a fake it till you make it type thing. You almost like have to like just kind of just put an act on. Maybe don't. At least it felt like I kind of did, or at least that's just what we do. Yeah, man, I feel like I'm really good at being able to identify myself in others. Just that simple. Whether it be like, oh shoot, you haven't had enough carbs today. I can tell by how you're dying in this workout right now, or you haven't had enough water or electrolytes, or man, someone hurt you, or whatever.
But you can only do that through really, really deep self-investigation. And you've probably been doing that since you were very young, and you've just gotten really good at one, looking inwards, and two, looking outwards. Because I mean, you can only view the world through your own lens, and if your lens is clouded or you haven't like sharpened it or refined it, you're gonna have trouble understanding other people if you don't understand yourself.
So I probably went through a refining purification process at a really young age that accelerated certain aspects of my maturity. And by no means have I fully matured.
There's
definitely
always work.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. And we talked about like my side of the veil, and I wanted to I don't think anything that you say is crazy. Since I was a kid, I've had like visions at night. They were always at night. And I've carried them like all the way into my adulthood. And mine never came in the day, and they were never peaceful, which sucks.
Yeah, I've had some very gnarly ones too, my friend.
Yeah. So ever since I was a
kid, I've been full on attacks. Like I've literally been attacked.
Yeah.
Like and I look forward to hearing about even some recent ones too, whether they've been in my dreams or even just like I had mentioned, when you see this and then there's just this thing inserted. Even not too long ago, I was having like a sleep paralysis, and there was this huge black figure that was attacking me, and I couldn't move, dude. I could not move. I couldn't even get a word out. I'm in bed and I can see everything. I can see everything. My room just as it is, and there's a huge black figure on top of me, like killing me. And I can't speak. I can't move. And I'm even. This is so funny. I'm yelling in my head. I'm like, Jesus, save me, and nothing's happening. And I remember I was so mad, dude. I was like, you abandoned me. Like I was calling for you. When I had this talk with him afterwards, I was like, yo, what was that all about, dude? Like I called on you and nothing happened. And he goes, clear as day. He goes, you moved your foot, didn't you? And so while I was being attacked, I was I could make those noises. I was able to get my foot and slide it across the bed and like hit Jenny and like wake her up. And she heard me going, like I'm, and she wakes me up. And she was like, what was that? And I was like, thank you. I was being attacked by a demon.
And, well, let me tell you.
I was like, it's all good now. We can go back to bed. And she's like, what are you talking about? Jenny doesn't have she doesn't have any of these types of encounters. A lot of these things, whenever I bring them to her, she's just like, what are you talking about? You are a crazy person that you could just experience what you just told me and then peacefully go back to bed. And I was like, honestly, the Lord kind of let me have it right there.
Yeah.
Because again, I cursed him, dude. I was so mad. Dude, you left me hanging back there, dude. What is up with that? Clear as day. He goes, you moved your foot, didn't you? Woo!
Dude, that same feeling, and it used to scare me so bad when I was younger. It was almost like just like this intimidation factor that would come into my room at night. Like I've seen, and it's like I said, it's never something peaceful. It's never something good. It's always something terrifying. I've seen massive snakes on my roof of my bed, like above my bed. Those dark floating figures at the foot of my bed or by the door. I've been awake and like my bed is like shaking, physically shaking. I'm in my and it's just rocking back and forth. And there's this figure at the foot of my bed just like staring me down. I was like, okay, 5 seconds, it's gonna be gone. 15 seconds, it's gonna be gone. 30, 60. Like then I started like calling for my dad, saying his name, like yelling for him.
And I was a child.
Yeah, like ever since I was a kid, man. And my parents think it started. We went on a pilgrimage to Rome, and so we were in the Vatican and all these tombs and all these like holy places.
You think you picked something up there?
They think it was I became like obsessed with death when I was a kid, like so afraid of dying. And I think that like that side of the spiritual world kind of just latched onto the fear and was like, okay, how can we scare this kid? But yeah, dude, spiders in my bed, spiders on the walls, people like standing in front of my face, like literally reaching out and like trying to push them away in my as I'm waking up. I've chased people through my house. I've woken up thinking like my dog was like bleeding out all over the floor. Like I'm grabbing like bath towels trying to like sop up the blood on my dog. And like Kristen wakes up the next morning, she's like, why are all these towels on the floor? I was like, oh, like Lucas was dying. Like he was bleeding and like I had to save him. And they used dude, I would wake up in like these cold sweats, just like heart pounding, and just like sit up in my bed and like try to regain myself and like start praying until I started to realize the only purpose for these is fear, and I've never been hurt. And so now it's like, okay, like you're there, whatever. Like you want to stand at the foot of my bed, be my guest. I'm gonna roll back over and fall back asleep. Now, the ones that I struggle with that have been more recent and new, and I've had several of the same dream. And I'm asleep, and I'll be in a house, an empty house, a huge dark mansion lit by like dim light, and there is this sense of fear and evil inside of this house that is so strong that like it gives me goosebumps right now to like think about the way that I feel it and see it in my mind. And like all I yell is like get out, and I'll wake up yelling in my sleep, or like that muffled
Yeah.
like trying to wake myself up, and like those hurt bad. Like those are terrifying to me. And so yeah, like I've dealt with that since I was young, and I've had them at like for all my life.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a mild advantage to the enemy in those grounds. I think they're able to kind of take advantage of our somewhat resting consciousness, to where we're not super lucid, in the full on dream state, but we still have like some sort of awareness, and I think they're able to really kind of capitalize on that.
Yeah.
And let me speak this over you too, and encourage you to like some pre-bed rituals in regards to prayer have gone a really long way for me. But if you don't do it, it also doesn't work. So
Yeah.
let me
Chris
say that.
Chris and I pray at night every night. And I used to pray like, let me just sleep through the night peacefully.
Yeah, well, you also need to understand the power and authority that you have in the blood of Jesus, and you have to understand like the nature of the warfare. And it seems that they also, it almost kind of works, very similarly how I was speaking about how it's kind of organized like a government, and with its armies and generals and all that stuff. It seems to be a very legal system in which they operate on. And so if you're essentially, if you're not, what I would say, if you're not praying the right way, they can kind of maneuver themselves around, like like sleep good at night. Like, okay, buddy, like
Gotcha.
sure. So just being a little bit more direct in your communication to the Lord and his armies, and in terms of how you set yourself up for good sleep, so that there is maybe a little bit more of a presence protecting you during a time when you're seemingly pretty vulnerable.
Yeah. Now I will say, like, and I wonder if this is correlated, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Since I told you that fear and anxiety were not a product of grace, and they're a lack of trust in like God's plan and God's path. Now, as I've moved away from fear and anxiety and like felt much lighter and put more trust in like what God's got set out for me, those nights have gotten much like they're much more rare. And like I tell you, I was so weighed down by fear and anxiety for so long that I'm sure that was just this thing that was an attack point, like a weak point in my spirit, in my mind, that was just like, okay, like we're gonna nag at this constantly. And since working on that, and like whenever it comes back, whenever I'm fearful and anxious, and it's not whenever I have faith in trust. Is that not wild?
Knowing what I know, it's not wild. If you don't know, then it's pretty wild.
It all of this makes so much sense, and like knowing you, and like understanding that like, your heart is so open, and I want to talk about that more and what you're doing with that now, because I think your care for other humans is so incredible that I don't want to walk away from this podcast without talking about it and what you're doing in your life now. And so like you started working with special needs kids a long time ago. What made you start doing that and continue expanding upon it and growing it, and to where you got into the Dancer Love Foundation and what that's about and like your visions for it?
Yeah, it was somewhat accidental. It's not like I had
Was it really accidental though?
In a way, it felt like it was, because I say somewhat because it was in the lane. Like I've owned a gym since 2012, and it's been a personal mission of mine to help people come to know how good they're meant to feel. And and I just like I know that I've experienced what I've been broken both physically and spiritually, and I've also experienced
healing.
yeah, well, healing and um, a good word for it. Um, yeah, call it healing, but like just a good, just a physical and spiritual capacity. Um, a charged up battery, whatever. I think you get the drift.
Yeah,
I've
filled
just
cup, so to speak.
yeah, I've experienced both ends of the spectrum, and so and just knowing how bad that you can feel versus how good that you can feel is like, oh my gosh, dude, we got to get people feeling this. This is awesome. Where all three, body, mind, spirit, are just like cranking, full tilt, and so I've been on that mission for a while, and early on in the ownership of the gym, just kind of saw a void. I'm like, man, we're really good at serving people who are generally physically fit. Like we got a bunch of ex athletes, ex high school athletes in here. Like it's pretty easy to get them on board and to get them chugging along. But in regards to the actual scalable nature of CrossFit and fitness and wellness and all that stuff, I was like, man, what would happen if someone who weighed 600 pounds came into our gym? What if someone came in here with no legs? Like, what if a blind person came in here, a deaf person, or someone with Down syndrome? Like, fill in the blank. All these unique, special, circumstances that aren't generally physically prepared already before they get into your training program. So we went and basically recruited people to take part in basically a pilot program to where we could start developing the SOPs in regards to how we would actually scale fitness for people. I mean, they talk about it at the L1, but in a real practical sense. Like, go ahead.
SOP, is that standard of
Operating
procedure?
procedure, yeah, standard operating procedure in regard, yeah. So you immediately when if someone walks through my door right now and they have no legs, like, am I gonna have to sit there and think about how we gonna get this person fit? So we went and literally recruited people. I went and recruited a person who is paralyzed from the chest down, a person who is paralyzed from the waist down, a person who is missing a leg, two people with Down syndrome, a severely overweight individual. What else? I feel like there's something else I'm missing. But you get the picture. I'm the blind guy. So I was the prospect for that. Yeah, we just let them know that, like, hey, we don't really know what we're doing. And we want to kind of use you to practice. And so we like gave them all free memberships, and we would organize designated times where they could come in and get free one-on-one coaching, knowing that we didn't really know what to do with them yet, and start putting together a real scalable model, so that the next time someone that walked in our door that was bound to a wheelchair because they were so overweight, like, we legitimately knew how to like get them fit. And through that, we had our hearts changed through this young man named James Foster, who you've probably seen via the interwebs, whether you've seen him at events or just on my page. But he goes by King James Foster, and we've been working with this dude for the past 10 years. He's actually getting ready to go to the Adaptive CrossFit Games and contend for the fittest athlete on earth and the intellectual. Yeah, bro, it's super awesome. So I have 4 athletes that qualified. Yeah, that just gave me goosebumps. Like, if there's anything that I would love to sit here and boast about, Like, find me another goddamn gym in the world that has 4 special needs athletes going to the freaking CrossFit Games. I am the mayhem of special needs. I am the proven of special needs. Like, I am the HWPO of getting special needs individuals to the freaking CrossFit Games. I will stand on a mountain and yell that. I will take pride in that. Like, that is something. Like, that gets me emotional, dude. Like, that's everything. Like, that's the reward of everything that I could have ever imagined in regards to helping people come to know, like, how good they're meant to feel and perform. Like, and these are people, the world isn't built for them. There's, like, for you and I, it's easy for us to go sign up for a recreational sport, to go do this, there's unlimited things for you and I to do. Once you're 18-ish and you have a special need, your life's over. You're basically stuck at your parents' house watching TV. There's no more real. There are things, but it's not much, especially in a small town like mine. There's not much going on. Yeah, there's the Special Olympics, but I mean, we're talking about bocce ball on Tuesdays every 2 weeks or something like that. It's negligible, to say the least. And yeah, dude, the world is just not built for them, and there's not a ton for them to do. And yeah, that wrecks me, dude. Like, and yeah, we've changed that. Like, they got something to do. Not only something to do to help them, again, come to know how good they're meant to feel, but experience the performative sides of things. Like, to go, like, we take, last year I took, oh gosh, I don't remember the exact, it was very expensive. It was very expensive. I think I took, like, I don't know, 10 to 15 athletes to an event called the Able Games, which is a co-ability, basically CrossFit competition. Flew all these kids to freaking Fargo, North Dakota, brother. And, like, they got to be full-on superheroes, and with a crowd cheering for them. I've gotten to, like, with James, for instance, he's traveled the world with me, like, experiences that, and I hope it doesn't come off in a way in regards to the pride that I have for this, like, this has anything to do, like, it's not pride in myself. It is not that. I'm proud that they get to experience the fruits of getting to go compete and earn some shit. Like, so much is just, like, given to them. Like, okay, bocce ball, go throw a bocce ball around, and, like, here's your little participatory medal or whatever. Like, James qualified for the CrossFit Games. Nolan qualified for the CrossFit Games. Grace qualified for the CrossFit Games. Jess qualified for the CrossFit Games. They're going to get to fly to Vegas and compete for Fittest on Earth. Like, they earn that shit, dude. And that, like, that fires me up, brother. Like, that is so rad to me. Like, because, you've gotten to feel the feeling of being out in that competition floor. It might be small, in the world of, of Tom Brady's and freaking professional sports and whatnot, but still, like, the preparation and then like, getting to go, put all of that to work, and the eyes there's just something about it that's just so magical, and, like, they get to go do it. And then I got probably 40 other athletes in here that are inspired by that. 40 special needs athletes that are inspired by that and can work towards something like that. And
you have
whether it be
50 special needs athletes in your gym?
Yep.
Wow.
They all work out here for free. That's not easy.
I can't imagine it would be, but man, that is impressive.
Yeah, dude, wrap your head around that, dude. Like I said, I am the HWPO, the proven, the mayhem, every single one of them combined of special needs. And it's something that I am so stinking proud of, dude.
I'm proud of it. Just to know that you do that for these kids.
And like I said, it comes from just that knowing what it's like to be broken and knowing what it's like to be healed, and just wanting to give this to people who in their situation, in most situations like theirs, would never get to experience that.
Yeah.
Don't, they are, and I could probably really offend some people with this, but I don't.
Offend away.
I don't. Yeah, I don't care. People can get, and I always say, I'm like, I don't even know what the new buzzword is, or what, is it special needs? Is it, can I say Down syndrome? Like, I don't freaking know, dude. I'm too busy in the gosh darn trenches to give a hoot about what the right word is. But they are broken. They did not get dealt. You and I, we get ill, we get autoimmune disease, we break a bone, we tear our bicep. We can work and get better. James will die with Down syndrome. He's not going to heal. That's not going to be relinquished from him until the day he dies. So to give a group like that, who in pretty much all circumstances is never, ever, 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 ever going to experience the fruits of starting to at least graze the belly of healing, and getting to experience how good that feels. We're getting them as close as you can get, baby. And it's so gosh damn cool.
Speak to some of the, you said it's very hard to have 50 athletes in your gym who need more attention than most, probably. Speak to the challenges of that.
Yeah, well, it's that, right? It's the attention. It's exhausting, dude. Every year for the past 10 years, we've wanted to quit, straight up. Every single year, you're raising the money for that. It's not cheap, dude. It's, like I said, flying 10, 15 athletes to freaking Fargo, North Dakota, bro, and feeding them. That's not cheap. Finding the staff and the volunteers to support that. I mean, most of these people need one-on-one attention. It's not cheap. Providing them the space to do this is not cheap. It is. So yeah, it's exhausting. Working to provide something like that I get nothing back from that. Nothing. I get nothing. I make $0 from it. I'm not able to support my family with it. It does nothing for me, straight up. And that, and again, the attention to, it's, I go coach an able-bodied individual in this class. I can tell them what they have for today, and I can demonstrate a movement, and then you can kind of check out. You can just be halfway in, halfway out. You just keep an eye on them. You notice something over there. Oh, that person can move a little bit better. I'll go help them. But here you are, it is full on, there's no time off. You might have someone who might freaking leave the building. You got to go look for people in the bathroom. You got it's wild, dude. I wish I could bring you here to witness what one of our classes look like. It is one of the craziest things ever, seeing that many athletes with special needs in a building and trying to herd them all up and deliver a product to them.
We don't have to wish it. We can just make it happen.
Yeah, come on by, brother. Yeah, you keep posting that gosh darn 50K and all these people joining you, man. I'm what the heck is in Pennsylvania, dog? Am I going to have to go to Dallas, Pennsylvania, wherever the heck it is? Or is it Dallas, Pennsylvania? Was that right?
Moab, Utah.
Oh, it's in Moab, Utah. Oh, I saw. Moab. I can pull Moab. Oh.
How do you find the motivation, the discipline, the strength to not quit?
I'll tell you, usually the peak of wanting to quit every year is with fundraising. That's where we're just Jenny and I nonstop. We're just what are we doing, dude? How easy it would be for us to just sell all this stuff and go to Costa Rica or Indonesia and live so abundantly off so little and just have so much freedom. But then you you have an event, or you take them to the Able Games, or, you go to the CrossFit Games, or you see them getting to live it out, and then it just kind of like it all vanishes, and then it comes back on, comes in waves. But we're coming up on our big annual fundraiser. When is that? September 27th. And usually by like September 26th, we're ready. We're like, I can't do it. And then by like September 28th, you're all in again. you see the fruits of it. You see them experiencing and living it, and how much joy it brings them, and it's just like a recovery day. I'm sure you've had some gnarly training blocks and stuff like that, where you're just like, dude, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And then you get a good night's sleep, or you have a good workout or something like that, and you're just like, oh, back in it. Like, here we go, baby.
Yeah, I have that wave come in quite a bit with businesses. Where I'm like, man, how long do I want to keep running this game?
Yeah, how long do you want to write 40 workouts a week type thing?
Yeah. How long do you think you'll run this game?
Gosh, I'll tell you what, the older I get, the less willing I am to suffer. I was really good at that when I was young. And so with that, I've learned that I have to be more strategic about how I periodize, whether we're talking literally about training or figuratively about life or business. And which is, maybe being a little bit more organized, asking for help. Just trying not to do things on your own. But man, Brandon, I hope till the day I die, dude. Or else, really, what's going down and living in Costa Rica and just sitting on the beach every day?
How long do you think you'd be able to sit on the beach living abundantly before you are like, I need to go back?
Yeah, well, who knows, dude? I think that could suck you in too. And who knows, maybe there's a little balancing act to it. I've really learned a lot about seasons. Even with like football or CrossFit. With football, man, at the beginning of the football season, football was my favorite sport. Like, there was nothing more exhilarating, exciting, and nothing I wanted to do more than football. At the end of football season, I hated football more than anything. But then you have an off season and you recharge, and you starts to creep back in, and you get excited about it, and there you are, back at it again, playing football, doing what you love. So man, I think seasons are important. I think good programming and periodization are really important. Progressions are really, really important. Easing into things and gentle in the approach. Because I might not be as willing to suffer anymore, but I can trick myself into suffering pretty easily now. Just with smart training, and that stuff has been very applicable to life too. And in the form of, like I said, being a little bit more organized, getting a more robust team involved. It used to just be Jenny and I, just me and Jen. And now we just had a meeting a few nights ago where we had our fundraising committee over at the house, and I think there was 12 people there, 10 people there, or something like that. So just asking for help and divvying stuff out.
Yeah, life comes in waves, man. And there's times where you have to tread water, and you got to sprint, and you got to grind through those really dark days. But we always know that the tide eventually washes back out, and there we are standing in the sand. And but that's in all areas of life, I think. And what you do is incredibly challenging, but it's also, to me, it's more easy to understand and to fathom the spiritual visions that you have. And that's difficult for me to understand. It is easier for me to understand that than to understand the challenges you go through in the work that you do with these individuals. And I think it's infinitely more incredible. And I applaud you immensely for it. I'm inspired like so much by what you do and the emotion that you carry behind it, and the willingness to suffer and sacrifice day in, day out, month after month, year after year. Not a lot of people could do what you do. In fact, you might be one of the few.
Thanks, dude. Well, that's really encouraging, and I can't tell you enough how far that goes. Like, just like how uplifting that actually is to, to receive words like that.
No, I'm actually quite emotional about it right now. Tell me about the Dancer Love Foundation and what you're doing there.
Yeah, so I mean, you got a little snapshot as to kind of the early, conception of it, and how it was conceived, and working with James and kind of trying to figure out how we could better serve people as a for-profit business with Q-Town. But the Dancer Love started when, so we kind of fell in love with James. Our hearts have been completely changed. It was incredible. Not that our hearts were hardened by any means, but I don't know, just kind of opened our eyes to a whole different world and group and a type of people that needed this. And so we're like, man, we need to support these individuals more. How can we support them? Let's raise a bunch of money for them and give it to Special Olympics. Like, they're doing really cool stuff, and they are. Special Olympics is doing cool stuff, and we raised a lot of money that I wish I had right now. And nothing ever happened. Nothing. And dude, that just hurt our feelings. And I get it. It's a huge national, global organization. We thought when we gave all that money to Special Olympics that we would see this ripple effect, and it would affect our community. And it didn't. We're just a small town in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, dude. And just, nothing happened. We thought something would happen, like they'd get new jerseys, or maybe they would have enough money to start a legit sports program and keep it going for a while, and not just have these short little bouts of events, but to have something that they could regularly count on week in and week out, day in and day out, to participate in and stay active and have the camaraderie and have something to look forward to. And so Jen and I decided that we're like, man, let's just do our own thing. We'll start our own nonprofit, and we'll start raising money, and we'll put it right here in Quincy, Illinois. That it just kind of started growing from there, when it started turning into not just raising money for our local athletes, but creating more opportunities for our athletes in the form of CrossFit and fitness and competition, and grew to even where we started partnering with other nonprofits, like the TNT Foundation, and putting together the Able Games, which is that co-ability, which if any of this stuff is touching to you and any of your audience too, and I know Fargo, North Dakota sounds like some nothing joint in the middle of nowhere, and it is, but Fargo is actually a really, really cool place. And annually we host an event with another nonprofit, the TNT Foundation, and it's called the Able Games, and is a co-ability competition. And what that means is you, Brandon Luckett, could partner up with someone with a special need, and you would go do a team competition with them. It is awesome, and it's growing. I think we had, what did we have this past year? I bet we had over 300 athletes participating in that. So quite a bit of special needs athletes coming in. And we've worked with them for, I think this is going to be going on our 6th year. I feel like I have a unique understanding of the scale of people's needs, all the way from myself to somebody who doesn't have legs or whatever, fill in the blank, and everything in between. So I've helped with the development of the programming for that, and finding out ways that we could legitimately test people and not just give, participation awards, like real competition. Yep. That is also inclusive though. And that's a fine line, dude. There's the delicate walk to achieve that. To where you, Brandon Luckett, you come to this competition like you're going to get broken off, and so is your partner. And whether they don't have legs or they have Down syndrome or they're blind, like whatever, like we're going to find something for them to do that's going to kick their ass, and they're going to have to work for it. And we're going to award the best. Like the best at the end of the weekend are going to stand on that podium, and we're going to write you a check, and you're going to feel like a professional. And it is so cool to witness. So if you ever want to get involved in something like that, or Brandon, you do such, and this isn't me stroking your ego or myself. There's very few people that program in a way that I'm like, that's really well done. That is very well done. I would much rather do my own programming. Like 99% of the time, I would rather do my own stuff. And Jacob Hepner is another one who does a pretty darn good job. And it makes sense, honestly, with both of you, because you do so much of it. And I think, again, what makes me good at it too is the scaling nature of it. I think also what's making you guys so good at it too is the frequency of it. And what also makes you and him a little different is like you and Jacob are actually doing it, writing, we'll leave it at that, versus, a lot of other entities. It's, and it's something that you might even have to even consider though, in regards to like, where are we going to take EmomCo? Like, do we want to continue growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and offering this and this and this and this and this, and it might get to a point where you need a team, but it loses
its roots.
It does. And there's just some push and shove to that. There's some give and take, and that's something that I'll leave that to you to figure out what you want to do about that. But it's, the sentiment is, I think it's why I enjoy your work and Jacob's work so much, is because it's actually coming from you, and I can tell. It's so well curated. Like,
thank you.
There's very, very few people that write any workouts where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind doing that today. Like, I would enjoy doing that. Like, that very, very well done. Like, I had this in mind today for myself, but I just saw this, and I am going to go do that. And I know I share it. I usually write it on both of you guys. I'm like, yum, that's fun. Yeah. I'm going to go do that. And it's very frequent with both of you. How often you put stuff out that, gosh dang, that is good. It's so just, so well done. It's the simplicity and but the elegance to it is just, it's from the frequency. You've done it so much that you've really gotten good at it, and you eat your own cooking. Mm-hmm. Like, you eat your own cooking, and for me, I don't want to go out to eat. I don't want to eat anyone else's food. I want to eat my own food. Like, yeah. I feel like the way that I prepare food, and literally and figuratively, like with actual food, I would rather eat my own food than take the chance of going anywhere else. And very similar with my programming too. I would rather eat my own food there. I like what your restaurant is up to.
Thank you so much.
You got some good farm to table stuff, and you are, it checks all the boxes too, man. The presentation and how it tastes, it just, all the things are so well curated, man. And I don't know where I was even going with any of this stuff, but I think I was talking about, if you ever want to get involved with That's what it was. You do such a good job at programming, and you've done it so much, and I like what you do so much that if you ever would like to get involved in any capacity with what we have going on with the Able Games, or even starting to look at what does it look like to actually start programming and so broadly, but also so perfectly to where you, like, again, you, Brandon Luckett, are going to get broken off in this workout, and so is James Foster.
Yeah.
And to get and learn that side of things, you're one of very few people that I would ever be elated to have involved in something like that. I think it would take a little bit of nurturing for you to come to know really what we're dealing with, but you're so good at it that I know someone like you could pick up on it really quickly.
Yeah, I would love to learn, and learn how you do it, and if I could be of service, man, count
Or
me in.
just come compete. I'll consider
Yeah,
Moab. You consider when's Moab?
November 15th.
Okay, cool. I'm in town. Yeah, I'll consider Moab, and you maybe I'll send you some information on the Able Games, and if you ever want to come out
Absolutely.
and participate and be on a team or whatever, anything like that, it is good fun, brother.
Yeah,
And your heart, you won't be the same person after it either. Like your
yeah.
heart will be different.
You're gonna have to send me the information because I'd love to be involved on both sides of it. I'd love to come compete with somebody.
Yeah, maybe we could have be cool to have a workout sponsored by like Imam Co or something like that. Specialty workout or something.
That'd be an honor.
That'd be really, really cool.
And so the Dancer Love Foundation is part of this umbrella that's working together.
Yeah, so yeah, we work with them, the TNT, to put together the Able Games. Let it be known too, like I am a very small like cog in that. There is a huge team of people involved in putting this thing together. So I don't want it to make it sound like Sam Dancer is putting on the Able Games. That is not the case at all. A lot of this stuff, even whether it's the development of Imam Co or the Dancer Love Foundation or the Able Games, it truly does it takes a lot of people to bring something like this to life at the scale that we're doing it. So like even with our nonprofit in here, like I do not want to make it seem like Sam Dancer is running every aspect of that. There are we have so many volunteers. They're like everyone has a role and is needed and is just as valued and in some cases should be more valued than even myself. I just happen to have the space for it and a passion for fitness, and it all is kind of like fit together. But yeah, so the Dancer Love Foundation is grown and grown and grown and grown. And unfortunately, I have a business to run. I do have bills to pay, and we do that through Q-Town Fitness, my for-profit gym. And as you can imagine, with like 40 athletes, so it gets a little taut in here. So we're expanding. We just got into this huge historic building. It's 5 stories, 30,000 total square feet, 6,500 plus square feet on each floor. This building's over 100 years old. It's beautiful, huge brick building, historic building that was known as the Roy Bennett Furniture Building here in Quincy, Illinois for the past 100 years. An iconic building here in town, and we're taking that thing over and renovating it, and we will have plenty of space for activities. And it's quite a challenge, and we have our hands so full with it. It's going to be easy to basically take the gym that I have now and put that part in there, but then I'm creating like 2 more gyms, and they're just going to like fit into this building, and along with some other stuff that we're going to do to hopefully be able to make financial sense of all this, because it's a scary one, Daddy. Like I said, it's one thing to fail a workout and that stuff and not go to the games or not qualify for this or that, but to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, that'll take a minute to recoup.
Like I think the purpose is so pure. Your purpose is both your sails and your rudder on your ship, man. And I think your purpose is so pure and clear that I have zero doubts in the success of where you're going.
Man, I appreciate that. To be frank though, their rudder, sail, cool, great, but what good is that if there's no water?
Yeah.
You know, you ain't going anywhere. So the water being culture, and here in the Midwest, there's not much water, you know, kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's something that we have to kind of fill up bucket by bucket and start dumping in here and creating a place for the rudder and the sail to actually do anything.
Yeah.
And it's just, culturally, we're a little behind. And two, here in the Midwest, there's not a ton of ways to really interact with Colorado. Easy peasy, baby. You got mountains, you got bike trails. There's like tons of stuff to do. Like you want to be fit for Colorado, gotta be fit for Colorado. Here in the Midwest, dude, there's really not much to do. There is, but I'm like, this is kind of the mindset that we're working with. There isn't really much to do other than like work, or drink, or sit in the couch and watch the football game. Who would want, like, why do I need to be fit? What's the point?
You changed the culture of a high school once.
Yeah, no doubt. And we're doing it, buddy. If I got a freaking every freaking year, because I take a pretty good off season every year, from fitness, to some degree. Like I usually in my off season, I like to go do something like kind of aerobic, whether it be like an Ironman or a High Rocks or a Tough Mudder, just something to kind of keep me Moab, baby, November 15th. Yeah, something like that. You get it. So there's always something I like to, keep myself kind of dialed in with. Oh man, where was I going? But the culture, man. But yeah, every year coming off of an off season, and maybe I'm only running just make something up, I'll run like a 6:30 mile, and I'm like, oh bro, that was so hard. I'm like, how am I gonna run a 5-minute mile? Like, how in the world am I gonna get down to that? That is insane. I can't even fathom that right now. And it feels like a huge mountain, dude. But you know what? Or like I renovated a house not too long ago, and I removed like, oh gosh, it was something ridiculous. It was like freaking 60, 90 tons of plaster out of this house. And it just felt like it was never like, I was bucket by bucket by bucket by bucket by bucket by bucket. Stop counting. I stopped counting the dumpsters. I was like, oh man, I'll have this thing done. Oh, I could put it all in one dumpster. And then you get to the second dumpster, the third dumpster, and the fourth dumpster, and the fifth dumpster, and you just stop counting the dumpsters. And it just feels like you are going nowhere. Bucket by bucket, brother. Eventually that house is completely bare bones. There's nothing left. There's this beautiful foundation for you to start building your house in. And I live in a beautiful house now. But at one point, it felt like I had this endless freaking house full of 100-year-old plaster that was going nowhere. And it feels like that way prepping. Like, well, this year's a little different. This will be my first year as a civilian going to the age group CrossFit Games. Train 5 days a week, 1 hour a day with the Q-Town Fitness group classes. But yeah, usually every year getting ready to train, just like, gosh dang, I know it can be done, but it seems so far out. I don't know how we're going to do this, but it's bucket by bucket, baby.
That's right. Look, there's something I recently have spoken to a few different people on this podcast about. If you ask most people, they would tell you that their priorities are faith, family, fitness, finances. kind of in that order. But if you looked at if you had to look at me, for example, like if you looked at my time, it'd probably be completely flipped over. Spend most of my time working, spend a lot of time exercising, spend a little bit of time with my family, spend the smallest amount of time in my faith. You might be one of the first people I've met on this show, maybe one of the few that I've met in my life that actually have those priorities in order, man. And I want to tell you how proud I am of that, to know you through that, and to just to see the work that you're doing. It's incredibly
that means
inspiring.
A lot, Brandon, because there's always been like a little part of me that's like wondered like how great I could have been. Yeah, but like I always had this thing, like even when we had our baby, like, man, I'm never gonna come home too beat up and too sore that I can't pick her up. And there would be a part of me that would just eat at me, dude. I was like, I would love to know like what I could do if I gave it everything and made those sacrifices, and maybe like took the time, but you'd be taking it away from your family. And you always hear the greats talk about it, and it's like, oh, it's so inspiring to hear it. Even like you even hear it like voiceovers on reels, like, you got to do it, man. You got you're not going to be able to go out and party with your friends. You're not going to be able to do this and do that, and do this, and do that. And I don't know if there was a documentary, Go to the Games thing, like 2016. And dude, I feel so blessed that I was even able to even be able to just go qualify for the games. I was like so cool. But I struggled with that, dude. Like, and you see it even in the documentary, I'm weeping. I was like so ashamed to even be there. Like, that I would take the time away from training James, like, to go what? Like, to go to the CrossFit Games? No, but and nothing against anyone who, like, in some ways, honestly, I'm envious of anyone who is a champion and who did make those sacrifices, because there is a part of me that wants that so bad, like even from a very young age, to just, there's and I wrestle with that, dude. There's part of me that feels like I squandered like what I was given this. I feel like, Brandon, I could have never squatted a weight once, and I would still have these bad boys, doggy. Like I was given something so very few people have.
You were also given a heart that very few people have, Sam.
And I'm not even saying this stuff to as a cop out for oh man, I could have been Matt Frazier. Like, I'm not even gonna go there. Like, that's different. But there's a piece of me that has wondered, yeah, gosh, like, what could I have done if I actually if I went all in and I gave everything to that. Or maybe there's even just a part of me that feels like maybe I missed out on, I had my time to do that, at a younger age, and I pissed it away or something. I don't know. Maybe this is a therapy session right now, for all we know, where I'm actually starting to have any sort of self-realization of, what I missed out on, or what I could have been, or what I should have done. But yeah, dude, from early on, even 2016, if you go watch that documentary, you will see the struggle that I was in. And
I remember it distinctly.
So
you were given a gift of a body, but you were given the gift of a heart that's much stronger, I believe. And if you had gone back and you'd gone on all in on CrossFit and qualifying for the games and whatever it was, and trying to be the best in the world, you wouldn't have this incredible challenge of giving this gift that you've given 45 athletes who wouldn't have the time of day from anybody else. And I would be sad if you continued through life with that regret, knowing the change that you've had on people and me right now in this moment. Regret's part of human nature. We all live with it. But I think what you've done to this day is so much more valuable.
And Brandon, I know that, even though I sit here, I say there's definitely, it might not even be a little piece. It might even be a bigger piece that I care to admit that, wishes I did this or that, or tried to do this, or went all in. But there is definitely a piece of me too where I got it all at my house. I got this freaking bucket of medals, and I'm like, what is this, dude? Like, am I gonna give this to my daughter? Here you go, Star. Here's all daddy's medals. Like, yeah. And dude, actually, I actually did financially, did pretty darn good in sport. And I'm like, what is it? I can't. There really is no legacy in it, and I'm not diminishing it. Like, again, anyone. I'm probably more jealous than anything, truly. Who, fill in the blank, who the greatest in our sport, fill it in. Matt Frazier, Justin Medeiros, Brett Fikowski, Pat Vellner, Jeff Adler, whoever. Name the greats. I'm probably more jealous than anything. And again, I just okay, cool, Sam, you get to be Brent Fikowski. Cool, Sam, you get to be Pat. Cool, Sam, you get to be Matt. And I don't know, maybe you have freaking Matt Frazier on here. I would imagine he actually has quite a badass legacy that he's leaving his children. So again, maybe I think this is a bit of a therapy session where I'm actually talking some of this out, and I don't know that I've really thought it through enough. But at least for myself, I even look at what little I have accomplished in the sport. And, I have that drawer of these medals and first place finishes or second place finishes or event wins, and those felt so good, so cool. I felt so cool. And you have a kid then, and you're just like, golly, dude, am I gonna give this to them? And what the heck? What does that even mean? What does that even really mean? And I think I'm still figuring it out, Brandon. Honestly, really, what is the legacy that I'm gonna leave with them? And the best answer I think I could give is my time.
I think that's the most valuable one. Sam, you're an incredible human. I'm insanely proud of what you've been able to do and what you're doing. I'm insanely humbled by it, to the way that you give to others and put yourself much farther down on that totem pole. Everything else, the competing and medals, what could have been, what would have been, was all personal pride, in my opinion. Competing for me was all personal pride. How proud could I be of myself? My parents were already proud of me. My wife was already proud of me. Grayson's not going to know what I did for a decade. He's not going to understand it. He'll never see anything from it, really. It all would have been just for me to know that I could have done that. But you've served people. You've served others for decades. There are very few people who can say that. Very few. And so if you're looking for pride, I'm proud of you. And you've made a real tangible impact on some incredible humans. So I'll leave the show with that.
Thank you, Brandon. Seriously, those words mean a lot, because
yeah, and you'll wrestle with it. That's your burden that you'll bear for the rest of your life, probably.
And it's hard. It's hard to not escape the grip of that pride.
You might not ever escape it, and that's okay. That's okay. Sam, thank you for coming on to the show.
Love you, buddy.
From that thin veil between you and the different world, from the way you battled through being beaten and broken, to how you've changed people's lives. The least of these, that you changed the lives of the least of these, is incredibly humbling for everybody else who's going to be listening to the show. I love you, dude.
Love you, Brandon. It was a pleasure.
Jason,
and I am going to depart from this show right now, so we will not be seeing each other. But please stay in touch with me. You're a huge inspiration. We'll talk soon.
Likewise, my friend.
See you, brother.